What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Independent Living Podcast. This is where we talk with some of the dopest, most successful, most hardworking independent artists out here killing the game, trying to make a way for themselves so they can do what they love instead of getting a 9-to-5 or anything like that. But today I got my guy Dylan Reese, man. How you doing?
What's up, bro? I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
I feel like we should start with maybe what hats you don't wear, and that would be a shorter list than what hats you do wear. But let people know like all of the different things that you do now kind of independently so they can understand that when you talk, like you coming from a real place, you know?
Yeah, appreciate that. So I'm definitely an artist first, always have been, but over the years just kind of learned different things and found myself kind of loading up my tool belt of skills and figuring out ways to add value to different artists and situations. So I've recently, the past couple of years, I've become also an artist manager. I'm managing two of my really good friends, Abstract and Adam Yoakum. Before that, I was like a mixing engineer in Massachusetts. That's how I was like able to avoid, getting a 9-to-5 job, a real job, before all the artist stuff was like paying the bills and there was motion there. I do graphic design. I've done a lot of different people's like merch and stuff, including all my own stuff. Also running a label with Two Lost. So I do like project manager stuff with there too. With the management side of things, I've kind of learned that, as you know, sometimes you got to wear different hats just within that and become a booking agent or a tour manager or the local promoter for the show, like getting locals to play, whatever it is. So I'm kind of just somebody that's okay with being a utility player and doing what makes the most sense. And as long as I can work on stuff that I believe in, whatever hat I'm wearing, I'm okay with it, and it's been fun, man. It's a rewarding journey to kind of just see things from different angles. And then you also learn a ton by doing that, because I might know something that I can apply from my own artist career into somebody else, but then also I might go through something with one of my artists that I can now keep in my brain for, all right, when I come to that point or when I kind of have a situation similar, I'll have some context and some experience to apply to decision making. And
I feel like, yeah, as you've heard, so many different hats. You're like the ultimate independent, like not, I can't even say artist, it's the ultimate independent entity, because you now are on so many different sides of things. I'm going to jump all around because my mind is going different places with questions, but just as a manager now, is there anything that artists do or ask you that get on your nerves that maybe you did when you had a manager? Like, is there any kind of like, oh man, this is annoying as a manager, but I probably did this as an artist?
it's a great question. And I know you've got probably plenty to say about this, more than I do. But honestly, I chose to work with the guys I work with because I think we're already very like-minded, and we were really good friends before we started working together as kind of like an artist manager relationship. So me and Adam were actually roommates. He moved out to LA just kind of right after college. We had a couple mutual friends, and my roommate at the time was like moving out. He's starting a family and yada, yada. So he kind of just moved in as like a young artist, and we became homies. And that kind of just turned into like naturally just like a mentorship situation in some cases. Like, he's a super talented artist, but I'm, 7 or 8 years older than him. So he was just like a sponge when we were at the house. And I just loved the way his mind worked. And when it was time to like, put his stuff out and like really try to roll the ball, that's when I was, all right, let me get involved and like really try to help. So honestly, like, there's not a lot that I have to complain about because I've chosen the people I work with very specifically. And because I get questions like that all the time. Not like that, but like, I have people DM me, hey, you want to manage me? Or like, are you looking for new talent? Like, check this guy out. It's like, I'm not really seeking to expand my roster so big where I'm juggling 10 different things, when I can only believe in so many things at once and I only have so much time in the day. So the artists I manage are because I'm genuinely friends with them and know I can help and have been doing that. So, there's little things like when we're on tour, Abstract will leave his clothes in the hotel and then I have to go sweep because he's just disorganized and I have to do that. But I mean, I would do that as his friend anyway. Like, it's just little shit. Nothing that's like, oh man, I hate that this happens and I have to deal with it, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't do it if I wasn't enjoying it. And if there was like major problems, I would just be like, all right, y'all need to figure it out, and I can do other things that I'm getting fulfillment out of,
Yeah, I think that's the best place to be, man, because that's how things with me and Bigg Jah started. Like, we were just friends, and I didn't set out to be a manager. It doesn't look like you set out to be a manager. Things just kind of naturally evolved to that space where you were like, oh man, I feel like I have a skill set that can really help take your stuff to the next level. And that's kind of what it is with me and Bigg Jah. Like I don't look for I don't want to manage anybody else. Like I'm good. And for you, it sounds like, since you're an artist as well, or how do you take the time to do both? Like is it organized? Like how do you organize your week to make sure that you're spending time on your own artistry versus showing up 100% as a manager as well?
Totally. I think that's something I had to figure out in the beginning of kind of taking that on, because I was so used to waking up and kind of only thinking about myself and like what I need to get done. And I think in the beginning stages, I was so focused on over delivering for my guys, because like they're putting their trust in me and kind of giving me a swing of the bat. And it was something I was really excited about, and I still am excited about. But I definitely felt my artist project kind of take the back seat for maybe 4 to 6 months in the beginning of that. And I had to kind of zoom out and realize, oh, like I'm not being nearly as productive as I used to be. So I need to figure out this balance. And I feel like recently, maybe the past year or so, I've really figured that out. And some weeks it's very structured where, I wake up and I have this to do from this time to this time, and I'm locked in on that. I'm big on like kind of executing things kind of in a sprint, right? Where I don't distract myself, because I might be getting emails. Like I'm mixing a song or something for myself, and then I'm getting 4 emails about this thing for abstract, or, getting a DM about this. Like I turn that off. I go on do not disturb. Once I'm finished with that, I'll zoom back out again. And all right, what's priority? What's not, so I've gotten pretty good at time management. And that's something that I feel like I've always been pretty good at, even as an artist. And I've probably talked about this on like other podcasts when, just talking about my backstory and whatnot, but playing basketball growing up really taught me that, of like, you're part of a team, you have a certain responsibility, you have certain duties you need to do. Like in college, we had to go to study hall. So, and I was trying to make music while I was, playing basketball too. So I had to be dialed in even at, a level where it didn't even matter, just because I had so much shit to think about. So I think I've gotten pretty good at it. But yeah, that was definitely a struggle in the beginning of like the management stuff, because I was just so focused on making sure I was doing what I need to do. And like you said, being all in as a manager,
I gotta be honest, man, there's probably not many artists that I know through the years, and I know a shitload of them now, that I would suggest going to management. But if there were any, I feel like, I would volunteer you, because I think even one of the reasons that we've continued our relationship and we've been so cool is because you've been so, well, one, you're talented, but two, just professional, and you do what you say you're going to do, so, and that's unfortunately not always the case in this industry. And just in terms of how you move and your professionalism, was that college? Is that basketball? Like, how did you know that would be important in this industry, and it would probably, give you more opportunities that other people don't get because they just fail to show up when they say they're going to show up?
First off, thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me, because you're somebody that's, I've always had a ton of respect for, and, even looked up to in certain ways. Anybody that sticks around and kind of has been able to carve out their own path in whatever role that is in this business, like they're owed a ton of respect. And, you're someone that's just been around for a long time. And I feel like I'm getting to that point too now. Like I'm kind of like a little OG,
Yeah.
A long time, bro.
People can see it. I got more grades than probably I'm supposed to have right now, but that's what the music industry will do to you sometimes.
Yeah, but no, I appreciate that. I think that approach comes from my decisiveness when I was a really young man. And so when I was young, my whole goal was I want to play college basketball, and I need to figure out what I need to do to get there. That was the only thing I cared about. So I was very locked in on making that happen. I'm 5'7", I'm white, and I'm slow, and I'm from the middle of nowhere in Massachusetts. So that's not the easiest,
that's not normally the basketball profile that college coaches are looking for.
But I cared about it so much. So I was like, what are the things I need to do? I need to go to the gym earlier than everybody else. I need to lift. I need to run X amount of miles. I need to go do drills after school. I need to watch film. I need to train on the side with my AAU coach on top of the high school stuff. Like I did the work and saw the results, made that happen. I played at Division III school in Massachusetts, like not a huge deal, but I was like a huge deal for me when I was 16, 17, like going into that. After my freshman year of college, I was also kind of juggling music, because I started that my senior year of high school, and had the same kind of realization of, I want to do music, and this is kind of the end of the road for basketball for me. I'm not going to play professionally. I started thinking about damn, what am I going to do after college? Like, now, once you get to that point, it all kind of realized like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And this is a great time. And I accomplished kind of what I set out to do. But what am I really going to do when I'm, 22 and school's over? Am I going to like try to go play overseas and live in Yugoslavia? Like, I don't want to do that. Like, even if I could have, that doesn't sound like something I want to do, And I have friends that did that and still are doing it. It's crazy and it's awesome. But it's just, at the end of the day, I knew music was going to be what I wanted to pursue and really chase. So I think I applied that same kind of work ethic and approach of what are the things I need to do to make this real? And some of those things I didn't want to do, some of those things I did want to do. But if you want it that bad, you'll figure it out and just lock in. So I approached my music career journey, however you want to say it, as a job before it was. And I think even just locally, in Boston or Western Mass, Connecticut, just that surrounding area, I stood out to a lot of the show promoters and just like people that were working kind of in the area because I just had that approach, like the simple things like showing up on time or communicating before a show and sending an input list or, hey, just asking the right questions. People are just like, oh, this kid's like serious and he knows what's going on and let's bring him back because he's easy to work with and he's cool. And like you said, just that's sometimes that's half the battle, especially at a small scale. And then you just build from there. And if you approach it the same way, opportunities just come your way.
Yeah. No, I mean, when you look at all of the people pursuing music, I think the number currently on Spotify, I think 12 million artists are uploading music to Spotify. But so that number can be daunting. You're like, damn, there's 12 million people trying to do this. Where am I going to carve my lane? But if you look at artists that are pursuing music, what I call the right way. And when I say the right way, I'm saying, are professional, show up on time, do that stuff, are learning the business, are trying to get as good as they can at their craft, like practicing their craft every single day, networking, building relationships with right folks, like the people that are doing all of those things. And then also like the social media piece, trying to crack the code and tell their story on social media consistently. Like if you're doing those 5 or 6 things, I would say you're in the top 5% if you're doing those things consistently.
Right? That's the number I was going to say if I had to put one on it.
That's crazy because I've asked that for 3 different people and they've all said 5%. I didn't even ask it to you. I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you're competing with maybe 5%, and that's generous probably, So when you look at it like that, it's like, okay, my chances are, and then separate from that, like everybody's music is different. I mean, if your music is amazing and what you're working on, the way you're telling your story is unique, you give yourself a much better shot than just looking at that 12 million number.
Totally. People have asked me, like other artists and stuff, just looking for advice or whatever, like, how'd you get on that editorial Spotify playlist? And I'll kind of start with what you just said because it's crazy when you think about how much stuff you're competing with. But when you break it down, how many people are competing for an R&B editorial playlist spot that are 1, releasing that day, 2, doing all the things that you're talking about, 3, have like some sort of streaming history or relationship. It's like I might only be up against 25 songs and I got one of the 5 slots. So it's not that crazy if you're just doing everything correctly and being super intentional with the way you're putting things out and the way you're telling your story and building your brand, and you just do that consistently. It's like, not that it's not hard, but it's not that complicated, it's like simpler. It's difficult, but it's simple,
Yeah. No, I'm glad you are kind of co-signing that. I mean, I don't just have this podcast so I can validate everything that I tell artists, but like, people don't understand that I still, even though I'm not, I don't have Funk Volume anymore. That doesn't exist. But like I sit here at Two Loss and I'm interacting with artists all the time, having conversations, whether that's here, whether that's in the office, whether that's on the MEC. Like I'm still seeing so many different artists and how they're moving and how many different ways people are setting up their business. That's why I wanted to have you on, because I think what you're doing is super unique. Like there's not that many artists that get into management, and then start managing their friends like successfully and in harmony, and it works. It seems like it's working. What would you say you're most proud about at this point from your independent journey?
That's really something cool to think about, because I feel like we just get tied up in the journey and the process and you forget to look back. I feel like on the artist side, I'm most proud of just what my catalog looks like. I've got a ton of music that I can go back to and be like really proud of, and just, show that to somebody who doesn't know who I am. And it might be from something 5-7 years ago, and I'm still, look at this. Like I made this and I feel good about it. So I feel good about just like the creative impact that I've left and will continue to leave because it wasn't always that way, you know. My first probably 7 or 8 years of recording music and trying to figure out there's not a lot of music that I'm stoked about anymore. And that's just what it takes sometimes because I wasn't born with God-given ability to do the things I want to do. I feel like I really had to work on it. Like I couldn't sing at all when I first put a microphone up to my mouth, you know?
So there's hope for me. That's basically what you're saying. Like if I start
Absolutely.
now, 10 years from now, I might be able to sing, my favorite Boys to Men songs or something.
Hey, if you want it bad enough, I think that is real.
The cover for On Bended Knee is coming soon, y'all. Maybe not soon, but maybe in a few years after I get my vocal coach. Well, you have been making quality music for quite some time, and you do have a lot of music out now. Have you ever had like something older just kind of pop a little bit out of nowhere, and maybe you go back to breathe some life into it, maybe through new reels, new on TikTok, things like that? Is there any songs like that in the catalog that just kind of had a moment after the main push?
Yeah, I think the best example of that is my song Sweat when Bigg Jah used it on YouTube a handful of times for all the ads and like different content that he used it for. Because that song came out in 2019 and you texted me and asked me if I had anything kind of up that alley. That was the first one that came to mind. You guys ended up using it. I saw a ton of just like traction from whether it's Spotify and Apple, but definitely on socials and YouTube, especially because I think you guys ended up using that maybe 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years after the fact that it was out. So that wasn't even a single on that album, crazy enough. It was just like an album cut. And on the YouTube video, I think it had like 1,000 views because it was just like the static audio. I didn't even have a video for it. And then when you guys used it, I think it's at like 50,000 or something crazy now. And all the comments are Bigg Jah, Bigg Jah, Bigg Jah. So I owe a lot of that to y'all. And that kind of revitalized, all right, I'm going to make an acoustic version of this. I'm going to do new content for it because I just, it kind of, and you already know this obviously, but there's so many people that don't know that song. And that's a song that I think is fantastic. I still perform it. It's one of my favorite songs that I've ever made. So I was very grateful to have that boost from Jah's platform and just continue to keep it going.
Yeah, no, I mean it's dope that works, and I'm still able to kind of the stuff that I do with Bigg Jah. I don't see it as completely separate from music because we continue to work with artists. Even now, we're putting together the soundtrack for the Lesbian Homie 4. But we've needed music from independent artists, through this whole way. It just makes everything, sound better. And as soon as we put something in, if it's a dope song, you'll definitely see in the comments, like, who made that song? Like, where can I get that song? So it's, for artists that are listening to this, if there are some content creators that you think share a similar demographic or just a great opportunity to get your music featured, I'd reach out to them and see if you can get it placed. Cause that's how a lot of music starts to move today.
Definitely. Yeah. And honestly, I've been on the road a lot the past like 12 months or so. And I can't even count how many times people come up to me at the merch and cause I always ask them, how'd you hear about this? How'd you hear, how'd you get here? Basically. Cause I'm not playing shows with 2,000 people at it. It's, sometimes it's 50 people, sometimes it's 400 people, whatever it is. But either way, I really make an effort to meet people and shake their hand. And the amount of people that said they found me through Bigg Jah that also came out to see me live and buy merch and do the whole thing, I've never seen anything from one specific thing. So that's like definitely a testament to that. And I owe y'all a lot of thanks for that because I've definitely made fans from it.
Yeah, and not at all. I mean, we benefit from having dope music in our stuff. Hopefully, it sounds like you benefit from people, exploring you as an artist. And the fact that they're showing up, I didn't know that you got that feedback at shows. Like
I didn't either, bro, until it started happening. I was like, oh, sure.
Hey, that's super. I'm gonna let John know. It sounds like we need to. We're gonna be creating a lot more. We're about to really turn up in the next few weeks. Starting in these next few, we're really kind of loading the clip to be more consistent on John's channel. So we're only gonna need more music. So let's figure things out, man. We got some good ideas brewing. So
yeah, let's do it.
Talk about that.
Yo, there was one dude that I met. He came out with his girl and like brought some friends and stuff. And I got off stage and I met him. He's like, "Yo, I didn't even know you were white until like not really got to the show, bro." I'm like, "You bought tickets to an artist you didn't even know what they looked like? That's fucking wild."
Hey, that is super dope. I mean, because I don't, if you just looked at, physically like Jah and his content, and then, if you just look at it, it don't seem like there's connect, but you never know what happens on the internet. The internet has made it so like there's such a fusion of like you can like so many different things, and like so many things that you thought wouldn't make sense make so much sense when you actually do it. That's dope. I'm definitely gonna tell Ja this. It's crazy that they're showing up to shows. That's super dope. We might even need to add like a like when we do the premiere this time, we might need to add like a musical component to what we're doing. But anyway, so on the flip side of things, not to be negative, but like what are if you can snap your finger right now and just kind of change something or add something to what you're doing, and just have immediate access to it, like what would that be?
I think I could benefit from a young, hungry booking agent that is down to grind with not only me, but also the artists I work with. That's something that feels like it's been a hurdle, even though it feels like I'm putting all the reps in on the live side and doing everything I can to have my guys do the same. Like, whether that means I become the booking agent and I'm literally booking full tours, like off of the computer that I'm looking at right now. Just cold calling venues and giving them, here's the Spotify data, here's the tickets from last time, like give us a door deal, we'll do it. And I'm like doing the routing. That is a ton of work, obviously. And that's obviously that could be someone else's entire job. That would be something that I think would really be beneficial. And I think the long-term effects, I mean, the booking agent would have to see that, right? Because I'm not going to snap my fingers and sell 500 tickets in LA. But I think if I get on support bills and continue to build it, and same with Abstract and Adam, then it'll eventually come, because the show's good, the music's good. I feel like we have the right approach. And anytime I do get in front of people, which I don't mean to say like I'm not getting opportunities, because I've definitely had many, and I feel like I'm definitely making the most of all the ones I have, but they all come from my own personal relationships and doing either booking myself or, hitting up artists and managers that I know and we have mutual respect and asking, hey, can I be on this show? You want to do this with us? Whatever. I just think it would be good to have some help on the live stuff. I would take a lot off my plate and potentially open doors that I don't have access to right now.
Yeah, it's tough to book the shows yourself. I mean, the first time we did a tour back in 2011, we booked it, or I booked it pretty much myself. And it is a challenge. Unfortunately, I probably know less booking agents, especially like young, hungry ones that are really willing to get into the mud like that and figure it out. That might need to be somebody that you identify that's not currently a booking agent right now, but just you maybe start as an intern and then, just kind of learn together or teach them how to kind of move. But yeah, I definitely can respect and understand that answer for sure.
It's crazy because I've been doing that myself, for myself and for these guys forever, basically. And I feel like I have such a good grasp on it that I could literally become a booking agent. And it is kind of fun. I do enjoy it, like kind of putting the puzzle together of a tour and doing the routing and figuring out different ways to make ends meet in between shows or whatever. It's something I enjoy doing. I just don't have the bandwidth to do it, like.
I mean, I just want to recap right now, like artists. Do you make beats? You make beats or no?
Loosely. I've got musicians that I work with, but yeah, I'm involved in the production side too.
So involved on the production side, you mix and master. You do your graphic design, right? Now you're managing artists. You're tour managing. That comes with. I know you're not carrying a lot of people, so I'm sure there's some merchandise that you're selling. You're probably the fake security guard like I used to be. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so you're doing so many different things, man. So I know that at some point, like, you start, I don't know if you started out doing both, but you're a rapper, and so you rap and you sing. And then I remember having a conversation with you of like, you were trying to figure out like where to put your rap stuff versus like your singing stuff. Like, how are you thinking through that process in terms of how to present it? And where are you at now with how you divvy the genres?
Yeah. So, in the very beginning, I started out as just a rapper because I just had no ability to sing and didn't know that I could learn how to do it. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to be a hip hop guy, which I did for a long time and toured with that and all that. So that was a kind of the first part of what I was doing in music. And I still enjoy making that music, and I still have a ton of relationships that I want to like collab with people or whatever. So in 2022, the beginning of 2022, I split my catalog and kept all the R&B stuff that is very easily identifiable as R&B as Dylan Reese, and that's where I continue to do that there and like hammer that home, which is what I was talking about, like my catalog there. Everything that's on Dylan Reese right now, I'm super proud of. And I made another profile under the name Ellis. It's Ellis exclamation point on Spotify. That's just my middle name. That's where I moved all the hip hop stuff from back in the day. And then that's where I still continue to release the hip hop stuff on that side. So I kind of treat that as, I don't know how the best way to put this, but it's kind of like an internet artist. Like I'm not really trying to tour with that. I'm like doing less and less content for it, but it's a hub for me to make songs that I think are cool and maybe collaborate and experiment and just throw them out, because there is streaming history there. Like I've still got, I think 25,000, 30,000 monthly listeners over there. So I don't feel like it's landing on deaf ears, but it's definitely not something I'm looking to invest in and grow like on a day-to-day basis. It's kind of like, it just allows me to be super prolific and say yes to certain situations. And it's got its own brand. It's like definitely more hip hop, obviously. So yeah, I've got both profiles. I still drop over there every 3 weeks and just kind of let it rip. And some things go really well and some things don't, but I just have no pressure when it comes to that. And Ellis is definitely just like a fun thing that I can do and sometimes flip into situations where I can make money off it. Like, like I can do features there, whatever. So yeah, that's like a whole nother thing that I do too, that I don't always talk about a ton anymore, because it's kind of just, it is what it is, but I definitely still enjoy doing it. And it's, I've got a song coming out tonight over there.
No, so would you advise like other artists, because there's a lot of artists that do multiple things. Would you advise them to have like different profiles, different names for, the stuff they do in the rap genre, or whether they did country, or like, is that how you would advise them to split it up, or how should they think about that?
I think the way I looked at it was, I think you can be a little bit all over the place genre wise once you've earned it and have like a huge audience, because your core is just going to like you no matter what. And you're kind of already set in a way in the algorithm of like, how like Drake will do the pop stuff, the dance hall, he'll do the hip hop shit. They'll have like an R&B project with Party or whatever. Obviously, this is like the biggest example because he's Drake, but the algorithm's not going to understand Drake differently if he does a project with Party next door. There's so much data. He's got billions of streams. Drake is a hip hop artist. That's what his brand is. And he also is versatile. Now, if no one knows who you are and you're just all over the place, I think it's really hard to get people to understand what you're doing. And I think that's what I did in the beginning, because I would be on tour and I'm doing all my R&B stuff because that's what I identify as. That's what all my albums were. But then I had all this kind of extracurricular activity in between. Like I'm on a futuristic song. I got, a remix with Dizzy Wright on it. I got a Sammy Adams verse. I did a collab with a reggae band just because I'm independent and nobody can tell me not to do that. And I like all that music and I want to do it. So it was all under one place. But I'm on tour. People like, become a fan that night and they're like, oh, I can't wait to go like listen to this on Spotify. And then they go click and it's all rap stuff in my top 5. And they're just like, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm just confused about what's going on, So that's kind of why I did it. In a sense, I think it does make sense if you're starting out. But I also think that this is going to sound maybe bad, but I think most artists wouldn't be able to handle doing multiple projects and actually swinging the bat on one of them or all of them. I think they would just be spread so thin and they wouldn't be productive. I only took that on because I knew I could do it. I did it because I didn't want to waste music or like say no to opportunities. I wasn't trying to create opportunities with Ellis. It was just like, oh, now I can still do this, but it's here now.
Yeah. We'll wrap things up. I just got a couple more questions. I would never ask an artist like how much money they make, but I do find it interesting if you can break down percentage wise, like how you make your money. Is like the top revenue, top revenue stream? Is it streaming? Is it merch? Like what's the pie look like percentage wise of kind of how you make your money?
That's something I've been thinking about a lot, and I think that's useful information. So I have no problem like talking about it. It's honestly all very equal, which is crazy because it makes sense why I continue to do all the things, because there's not one thing that's like, oh, I'm making 88% of my money from this thing. So I would be stupid to put all my time into other stuff. It's honestly kind of like an even pie because I also do like some sync stuff that I've done with the Ellis stuff too. That's something I didn't even talk about, but that's like a whole thing that can definitely be profitable. And then the artist stuff, I stay on the road a lot, and I've figured out ways where when I'm touring, I'm actually making money as an opener because I pretty much am a one-man band when I'm up there. So I have like almost no one to pay except my videographer, and my merch absolutely murders. So merch crushes on tour, and that's a big way I'm making money as an artist. Because if you look me up, I'm not streaming like a crazy amount. It's pretty consistent, and I have a deep catalog, so it's probably more than you would think just based on like my monthly listeners or whatever. But it's still like I'm not making all my money off of that. It's like probably 15% of it or whatever, and then the merch is probably more than that. Management stuff has definitely picked up more, especially because again, I'm wearing so many hats. I'm booking the shows. Things are starting to pick up with Adam, and Abstracts are very consistent. Just kind of like baseline. He's had a career even before I started working with him, and we're trying to build more on the live side too. So, and then I do features, especially as Ellis, a good amount. So that's income there. I do coaching with some artists. So artists that maybe are not ready to have a full management team yet, but are looking for just kind of some insight on like, hey, if you were me, like how would you handle this? Or I got a show offer about this. What are things I need to know? Whatever it is, I just kind of allow people to pick my brain and just get some advice on how to just navigate what they're going through. So there's that as well. And I would say past years, graphics and mixing was a huge piece of the way I was making money because it was just service based and a lot easier to use my time. But I think I've just had less time to do it and want to use those for like my own stuff. And I don't do as much outreach. Like there's still some clients I work with on graphic stuff that I'll work on if I'm inspired by it and it makes sense. But those days are kind of behind me, and I use that as an asset for our in-house stuff, But before I was trying to hit people up, hey, you need a merch design, I could do this, emailing people, like trying to get business, and that's just not part of what I do anymore. So yeah, it's kind of a hard question to answer because like it really is. I feel like I need to do all the things to keep the train moving. And once one thing's popped, I'll probably make adjustments, but yeah, it's pretty like split.
Yeah, no, it'll change over time, man. I kind of figured, just kind of from what I know, that the response would be something like that. But I think it's a blessing that you're able to, provide all those services. I mean, all the shit you do is probably like at this point, like a damn Cheesecake Factory menu with like there's so many things that you do and offer. So I get it, but you're right. It will change over time as things become, a bigger percentage of the pie. I guess lastly, man, since you're in this management road, you can hit me anytime, but is there any question that you have for me or just about management in general before we get up out of here? Or do you feel like, it's pretty straightforward? I've been in this, I got this. Or have you confronted some things that maybe you have questions about or, need to figure out?
There's nothing that pops out, and I don't want that to come off as like I know everything already, but it's like I feel like we got a pretty good grasp on what our goals are and what we need to do to make those things happen. And just hammering the nail, man, is like really what it is. I don't think there's any, and this too, like there's not one quick answer like, oh, like how do you grow on streaming? It's like, I mean, like there's 20 different things you can try and you got to find the combination that works for you. It's like, I can't think of one thing specifically, but I'll definitely call you if I hear anything, if I know anything. You're definitely a great resource for me. So I appreciate it.
So, so what are we looking forward to the most this year before we get up out of here? What's on the, what are you most excited about, that's going to happen this year? Or a few things maybe.
I think just scaling everything that we got going on, whether it's my own stuff or my artists too. I've got an acoustic project coming out next week. It's kind of like an acoustic greatest hits, I guess. I'm gonna do it kind of in little packs. So 5 songs are coming out next week. Deep, Sweat, Honey. It's just some older songs that I know like people love that just want to give new life to and like perform them differently. Just shot some really good content for that yesterday. I'm just going to be putting out singles consistently, like pretty much always. Just I'm a big fan of just a big champion of growing your catalog and not waiting to like, oh, I got to wait till this hits this, or like if you got music, put it out. Especially if you got to be proud of it. Well, I think you need quality and quantity at the same time. So that's something that me and Abstract and Adam are definitely doing and always will do. So we'll just see how things move, but really trying to prioritize the live stuff. I think that's, you can build a business without even anybody knowing other than your core audience. And that's something that a lot of artists just completely sleep on, because it's easy to get caught up in monthly listeners and Instagram followers and all this stuff. And it's cool. And obviously they're all tools, but if you sell tickets, it doesn't matter what algorithm says what, nobody can ever take that away from you. You know, there's plenty of artists that I look up to and strive to be like, that an 18-year-old kid who doesn't know much, they're just like, oh, like he's not even like popping, but it's like, yeah, but he's selling 1,000 tickets in Michigan. You know, it's like, and that just takes reps, and it takes time to do that. So definitely prioritizing that stuff more than anything, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much ignorance on the internet. You know, people think that there's just kind of this one way to move. And if you don't fit that profile, then you must not be a real artist, or you must not have any traction. But again, this is why I started this podcast, so that we can, you know, tell different stories of how, or just kind of lift up the hood of how different artists are moving, how they're making money, how their teams are structured, because there's so many ways to get to it these days. And I feel like that's the beauty of being an independent creator today, is that, you know, there's just more ways to make money than there ever has been. There's more ways to build your community than there ever has been, you know? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of positivity, where a lot of these other like platforms are painting like the most darkest picture of, oh, they're gonna scam you, and this, you can't do this, and Spotify's not paying you, and like, you know, like it's not all roses. It's still very difficult, you know, as you've talked about over this past hour. Like, you wear so many different hats, do so many different things, and spend so many hours. Actually, that could be the last question. How many hours do you feel like you work a week?
I mean, how many hours are in a week? Like, you know, it feels nonstop. I've definitely gotten better at kind of setting boundaries. And I think we've talked about this even just on a call or something, but I try to work 9 to 5 on the weekdays, like actually lock in for those hours and be like hyper focused. But obviously, like, it bleeds over, and there's sometimes I got to get up earlier and handle something before my first call at 9 or whatever. So I don't know, 60, 70.
And that's why I think it's so important for people to have an actual job or go to school before because a lot of these artists don't even know what like 40 hours of work even feels like.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, they've never been at a job for 40 hours. So because of that, they think they're grinding, but they really were in the studio for like maybe they were in the studio for 6 hours, but they only really worked for 2 of those. The other 4, they were fucking around and, you know, smoking or whatever. So they don't really know what 40 hours of work actually even feels like.
I can say that to my younger self, like when I was getting out of college and like doing music full time and like mixing songs in my parents' basement for people and like making a little bit of money, but you know, I was not working 30% of how hard I could have been, because I know now like what my bandwidth actually is, and I feel like I'm kind of like to the brim a little bit, where I'm like, damn, like this is hard work. Like, this is actually grinding as a 32-year-old man with bills to pay and like people to look after and like shit to figure out. This is hard work, you know? And yeah, it's easy to, because everyone wants to think highly of themselves, obviously, right? And everyone like wants to do their best. But if you don't know what that actually is, then it's like, how are you going to know? So I can't really blame that young artist. They're being told, oh, put out a song every 2 weeks or whatever it is. As long as they're doing that, then they're like, yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Like, what's the problem? But you should be putting out a song every 2 weeks and dropping merch and going on tour and collaborating with this person and doing a writing session for this girl or whatever it is. Like, there's so much things that you could be doing. And if you do enough of it, it snowballs, and you look back and you have a bunch of royalties to collect and a bunch of people that you know and fans in different places and all these different things that add up to actually making a living. And that's way easier said than done, obviously, but it takes that consistent grind. That's just what it is. There's no way around it, you know?
Yeah. No, I think this has been a really insightful conversation. Hopefully people tune into this entire thing. So many gems dropped. Obviously, you have a lot of great experience. But this has been another episode of the Independent Living Podcast, where we talk with some of the dopest independent artists out there doing it. In this case, independent artist, graphic designer, producer, manager, everything under the sun. So holla at Dylan Reese. Make sure you check out his music. If you're an R&B head, you will be glad that you checked out the catalog because my man's got talent. Until next time, see y'all. Peace.
Thanks so much, man.